Big show today, and it feels fitting on the 4-year anniversary of Underdog launching. We got training camps underway. We have actual news to discuss. Will Brandon Aiyuk be traded? How long will Jordan Addison be suspended? We're also going to give our predictions for the biggest camp risers. Who are the guys whose ADP is going to move the most over the coming month? And then naturally, we will hop in a Best Ball Mania draft. This is Off and On the Clock with Pete, John, and Nez. Let's do it. All right, we are back here, ready for another Off and On the Clock. As always, I feel like we live a lifetime between these shows. I believe the last time we did this, John, we had not done a randomizer yet. You guys had not done your IRL Scott Fishbowl meetups. How did it go getting to do that over the weekend?
It was super awesome. We kind of chatted about it yesterday and thinking about how that could be a really good framework for future Underdog meetups as well, which I definitely think is in the near future. And it was awesome. I was kind of a last minute call up and really glad that Steph, shout out Steph, reached out and asked if I wanted to fill in. It was a great time. I had a lot of fun, and I should have known. Like, I am like I'm such a tryhard when it comes to this fantasy stuff, and I didn't think I was gonna like try hard at the fishbowl drafting, but it didn't take long until like I'm looking up, who's the best receiver, who's the projected receiver. Am I gonna take Marvin Mims in the 7th round? I got way sweatier than I expected to, but it was a blast.
I was the complete opposite, Nez, because I was just sitting there and I was the guy that they had to keep telling, like, yo, John, man, it's 3rd round reversal, dude. It's your turn. Like, come on, get up there. That's good. No, Pete, the one funny tie-in with the Underdog stuff and Scott Fishbowl was I had some merch to bring and give out. So whoever gave the most charitable auction contributions would then get some Underdog merch on top of that or whatever. And I think like we're so effing early because I think at least 4 or 5 people in the crowd thought it was like my own little, like, I made the shirts for everybody. Like, this was my own little, like, get off the ground startup brand. And I was trying to shill my $15 shirts or whatever.
That's funny. You guys had I love the photo. You had the randomizer Canadian trio there. The only one you were missing is Pat Mayo, but he's not Vancouver based, but you had Sal, Jacob, and you, pretty good crew there.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. First time actually meeting Sal in person. We'd talked a bunch in the past. Like, I remember Sal going back to like the 2QB website days because like, oh man, he's OG like that. So it's really nice to meet him. He was rocking a Taysom Hill jersey, like an absolute beauty. He actually took Taysom Hill in his draft twice because we were doing like a rip the stickers and put them up. And there was 2 drafts going on simultaneously. And he took Taysom Hill sticker from the other draft and drafted Taysom Hill again. It was a really good bit.
That's hilarious.
Sal's been doing some video edits for me, like shorts from my Deposit Kingdom videos. And he has his own bit going on where he will, whenever I mention elite tight end, he will drop a photo of Taysom Hill quickly on the screen. And I didn't even notice it on the last one. And someone was like, Taysom Hill, LOL. And I went back and watched. I was like, he snuck another one of these in here on the screen. So yeah, no, Sal is the best.
He's doing like 0.5 second clip, like drops in. So it just kind of like flashes.
Yeah. I mean, it's on there for a quick second. Yeah. He's a sick man. No, yeah, Sal's the best. Yeah, I was bummed I couldn't swing the Boston one there, but glad you guys were able to take advantage of it. I feel like, John, you and I actually on Best Ball After Dark last week were talking about what like a live Underdog event like that could look like.
Yeah, we talked at length about that. And I mean, like, for me, I think the biggest thing would be anyone who wants to come can come. And I think that's like one beauty of like World Series of Poker and like that sort of stuff is like, man, if you just want to be there, you can just buy a plane ticket to be there. If you want to play while you're there, sure. Like, I think there is a large like subpopulation of the community that would want to do like a live $1,000 draft or a $500 draft or whatever it might be. But there's another subset that is like, that doesn't intrigue them or they're not willing to put up that capital, but they would just love to just talk with like-minded people about the platform. And I think that's the one big thing that I would be like, yeah, we need that.
Yep. Yeah, and there's so much fun stuff we were talking about too that you can do with like qualifiers too. Like say there was like all of these $1,000, satellites or whatever that took place, but then the previous year you have a bunch of like $100 versions of that with 10 people, or then maybe you have a bigger one that's only $10, and like people could ladder up to try to get a seat. Or if you just have the cash and you want to pony up, like you can do that in the same way at the World Series of Poker. Like right before the main event, there'll be guys doing 10-handed $1,000 buy-in, and
Flips.
winner gets a seat in the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, you wait long enough till the very last day of like day 1D or whatever like that. Guys will be doing like 1K flips or like high cards just for a seat and stuff. It's so DJ.
I did it once as Mans.
Connected there for a second.
Oh,
I'm here.
There
You're
you
back.
go. You're good.
You're
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
We're just talking about like satellite ideas for an underdog event, and then having some like high stakes drafts at the live event.
I think that could definitely work. It's such a unique thing or non-existent thing right now for Underdog that even someone like myself, who most of my DFS experience has been not with like satellite style things, like the Dog Bowl was my first time ever winning a qualifier like that. I would definitely be interested in something like that. I just have no experience with things like that, but I think it could be a big success if they try to dip their toes in some of those classic formats like that.
Well, the Underdog being 4 years or whatever right now really brought back the FFWS stuff there, Pete, where like the origin of that idea was to create like the final table style contest and have like a laddering thing. So I was digging through the archives of like some of my shit here, and I just found like the original roadmap that I had first made for like how the satellites would work to get to a 10K live final. It's pretty funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I
Pretty
think
funny. It's been that long.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of stuff obviously takes a decent amount of planning, and you gotta get the wheels in motion for a future year. And now it seems like there's definitely the kind of enthusiasm for it. And I mean, at the end of the day, we saw how many people wanted to be involved in the Dog Bowl. The way that tournament's structured, there's only an X amount of people who can. And so yeah, I think we need an event where it's open season.
Yeah. And we did talk about this on the After Dark there, Pete, too. What Pade's bringing up here is like NBA Daily serving as like, we were talking about the cross sport pollination of like, you play X amount of daily entries in NBA. Well, here's one entry into such and such a satellite over here to like get people interested. It would probably work the other way, to be honest.
Right.
If you do a bunch of football stuff to get you into NBA and some of these auxiliary sports. But it was just, yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's start with some news items here real quickly. The big one yesterday and the day previously, the Brandon Aiyuk and Jordan Addison stuff. Let's do Brandon Aiyuk first, unless you guys talked a ton about it yesterday. But what are your guys' takes from this news that he requested a trade?
Consensus seems to be that he's not going anywhere. He has seemingly no leverage, and this is the Niners window, which is like obvious, and that they want to retain him and keep him because he's crucial to them winning a championship. I kind of offered a little bit of a counter take in that, is it possible that the Niners brass has so much hubris that they think that they can afford to trade him and still compete and win? I don't think that that's out of the question, especially if the team offers them a deal where they're like, wow, this is really good future capital. We have a window now. We think we're good enough to still win. You're Shanahan, man. You can make anything work. And now your window is expanded because you got a first round pick for an Aiyuk. You don't have to pay him. You can now use that money elsewhere. I honestly don't think that's as out of the question as like everybody thinks.
Yeah, I mean, trades are just so hard to pull off generally. It also seems like another possibility. I included this link in the newsletter too. I think Schefter had posted it, that there is a little bit of precedent. Both Robbie Gould and Deebo Samuel had angled for a trade as well because they were unhappy, and then that instigated a new contract too, so that they are willing to kind of.
Robbie Gould did that?
Yeah.
The balls. That's a kicker. I did not know that he requested.
Robbie Gould was like, he was like the kicker there for a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so who knows? I do think there's lots of ways this could play out. I mean, the funnest would be honestly if the Niners, and I feel like a player for player trades rarely happen, but if they were able to get a wide receiver back, what if they thrust like I'm trying to think of even like what would make sense. Say you're talking about
Well, Devontae Adams is like the
Devontae.
101 of making sense, I think. Yeah. Like just
Yeah.
like someone who's like older veteran guy who you take on money for immediate win now, and then you give up future asset that can be assigned like a trade-in sign in the NBA kind of style.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the Niners would prefer. Like, a win now asset, or would they, like, if they could just get a first round pick, they would do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like I think they'd go win now. I think they'd go win now asset. I mean, like, Ricky Pearsall's already on the PUP list there. Like, do you really want to roll into the season with like Juwan Jennings as your number 2 wide receiver if you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year?
I mean, the whole thesis was they watched what happened when Debo went out for that quarter or whatever in the Lions game, and they gave Juwan Jennings the Debo Samuel playbook, end around carry, and then said, we cannot end up in this spot again, and then went out and drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. It is interesting to note, too, that Ricky Pearsall popped up on the injury list yesterday as well. I haven't actually heard the details of what that injury is, but that might also end up factoring into the equation. Like, the whole point of the Ricky Pearsall thing was to give them depth there, to give them insurance with some of these contract situations. But if they don't feel like they can count on him early in the year, they also might not feel like they can afford going down to, like you said, a Kittle, Debo, Juwan Jennings, offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not in the weeds enough with their cap situation to know if it's like going to hamstring them considerably if they sign Aiyuk, but it just feels like there's going to be a way to get this done. But for the sake of content creation and spice and, fingers crossed that he can end up on the Steelers, I hope that there's a move, because it's always fun to see a trade happen, but just obviously doesn't seem likely. But wanted to throw that angle out there, just kind of thinking outside the box a little bit.
I mean, for fantasy, it'd be the most fun, right? Like anything that would shake up a value, like even say something random with the Commanders where he gets to go play. Maybe, Terry McLaurin comes back and it's like, well, where's Terry McLaurin now going on the Niners? Where's Aiyuk going with Jaden Daniels? Like stuff like that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The other one that's really fun is Bills, right? Like Bills, we did that speculation a couple months ago with him potentially doing that. Like, but yeah, any of it would be fun. Where Pete, I'll ask you the same question. We kind of did it in an abbreviated fashion, and we left Aiyuk out of the equation, and we were just like, he's gone. Doesn't matter where he went. Let's assume they get no wide receiver back. Where does Debo go? Does he become a first rounder for you?
I think he would live at the 1-2 turn. I don't think people would maybe they would take him over Garrett Wilson. I could buy that. I still think he'd probably top out there, but just be firmly ahead of the Drake Londons and Marvin Harrisons. I think he'd be ahead of even probably Gibbs. He'd probably be a fixture at like 111, 112 would be my guess.
Yeah, we kind of tended to agree there, and that's pushed him up a little bit higher as the resident Debo bull there. The one thing about Debo is like when he does so much of like the running plus pass catching is like he is an elevated injury risk comparative to some of those other wide receivers in that range.
Yeah, definitely true.
Yeah.
And then with the Addison stuff, I don't, it's not like a super fun conversation when you do like all of the legal hypotheticals and everything. The guys hit on it on ADP Chasing the other day with JJ. I thought that was a good conversation. It seems like a suspension is likely, if you had to handicap it, it seems like most people think, somewhere between 1 to 3 games would probably be to be expected. It's kind of interesting because we've already, you do this thing like Rashee Rice is steaming up draft boards right now. And people expect him to even get a longer suspension than what I think Rice is going to get. And yet, because it's the older of them, the one that's more like, all right, everything settled, everything bottomed out, and now we see how he's going to be discounted. Whereas like the Addison stuff, even if they're the same, Addison's going to start dropping. But I wonder if we just follow the same arc where it's like, then it bottoms out and then it's like, oh, well, maybe this isn't a big deal, or maybe we don't care about that early season production. I guess the wrinkle would be if the suspension did actually happen later in the season, because it's more expedited. And then that's a legit conversation. Like if he got slapped with a 3-game suspension in week 14, all of a sudden he's worth like a last round pick, essentially, like if he wasn't going to play in the fantasy playoffs. So I guess that's the only part of it that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jacob and I talked about this a little bit at the Fishbowl there, and he had some really good information when he was using examples of, I think it was Kamara and Ray Rice and somebody else, how like these suspensions have a tendency to like let all the legal proceedings go through and then go through an internal evaluation process and then a suspension occurs. So he was saying like with an incident this close to the season, it's kind of like highly unlikely that we would get a suspension until late. So that plays into your narrative that makes it a little more scary there. But yeah, I don't know. I've been clicking him still, but not at ADP. I clicked him at 81 last night, and that felt fine as my 6th wide receiver. Like that was like, okay, maybe this is a little GM-y. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I'm not going to speculate on like length of time or whatever, but it does bring in a super sleeper mentioned on the show the other day, Brandon Powell back into play.
It does. I mean, the whole thing with them is they have nothing on that depth chart. So I mean, I think at this point, like if you're gonna do your Bo Meltons of the world and your Yoshi Vosses, I mean, Brandon Powell's certainly in that same conversation.
Johnny in the chat's talking about it, and we touched on this too, that the situation is so not convoluted the right word, but it's not like your typical DUI. It's not like he was like driving bad, then pulled over, breathalyzer failed. Like he was asleep with his car pulled over. Not great, but definitely not as cut and dry, I think, as the news headline made it out to be. Definitely going to hold out on this one, but you know, if you're going to get him in the 90s, that definitely feels like a good time to do that, considering I don't think it's set in stone that a suspension is on the way, considering the circumstances.
And to me, there's kind of like that pretty clear demarcation, right? Like once like the JSN and the LAD, you know, come off the board. If you want to include, you know, Jameson Williams in that, go ahead. But like then you get down to the Suttons, the Lockett's, the Curtis Samuels, like him slotting in between that kind of range there just seems to make a ton of sense, where it's like he has the profile of the rookies and second year guys going earlier, but he also now needs to be discounted because of that ambiguity. So to me, like where he's going to settle feels about right. And like you said, the same way you're treating Rashee Rice, like as your wide receiver 5, or if you did go more hyper fragile and you're like, I need an upside option here, like I think he's going to end up fitting a lot of builds.
It's such a strong resistance. It's like when you as soon as you see Jameson Williams and like it's Jordan Addison right above Jameson Williams, that resistance is it's so solid. Like it's going to be really, really hard for him to break through that tier. Just because we've been drafting him where he's been going. He had the rookie season, and the profiles of these guys, like from Jameson Williams down, I think people would just rather take the risk of Jordan Addison. It's kind of funny the way that these ADPs have lined up and kind of sequential themselves in this way, where we just have that's such a stark tier break. That Jameson Williams like line there is when you're officially not feeling great about the wide receivers.
I think that is the biggest like conversation topic about this is the JSN. I could see vaulting. I could see the Coleman vaulting, especially to the Josh Allen drafter. But I don't see anything else that could push it. Like there's all the red flags behind with that next grouping. So why not just take a discounted Jordan Addison at 10 picks and hat tip and move on kind of thing. So I fully agree with you guys there. I think I will move JSN ahead. A little bit of a spoiler. I think he's going to be one of my camp risers that I had written down. I think JSN is a good bet for that. And then Courtland Sutton is just one in that same area that I want to hit on 1 second here. Is he might have some legit holdout risk too, like more so than Aiyuk, largely because he could afford to, comparative to Aiyuk paying $40K a day kind of thing. Just some murmurings about that.
Interesting. I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah. I think we could use that to transition over to the camp risers, because I actually think like the Denver stuff is the perfect they're the perfect team to kind of start this conversation, because it's like we can look back on some of the, you know, previous camp risers over the years, and they generally, you know, fall into a bucket of teams where there's one ambiguity, but there also has to be ambiguity that the player could be at the top of the position's depth chart, right? Like even if there's like a solidified number one, yes, like a backup RB2 who comes into focus can rise a little bit, but you're never going to get the crazy steam. Like the Tank Bigsby steam happened because people were telling themselves a story where, what if he's just the 1A? And like ETN's the 1B? Like that's the kind of, I know it sounds crazy now, but that like ambiguity that they could, yeah. So I think Denver is perfect because if the Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin steam was so hot and heavy, could people talk themselves into one of those guys being the number one? Absolutely. If the Estime or McLaughlin steam was so hot and heavy, could someone talk them into being the number one over Javonte? Absolutely. So I think one of these Denver guys from both position groups could easily be a huge like 4 to 5 plus round riser.
Yeah. I think.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead. No. Well, I think it's a very astute point there. Also, because of the great unknown associated with Bo Nix, and you tend to see more of rookie quarterbacks in preseason and in camp comparatively than some of the veteran guys and stuff like that. Especially when it comes to preseason games, like people who haven't seen Bo Nix at length, and they get some eyes on him playing well playing well in tandem with former teammate Troy Franklin. Like that could be a little tandem that pushes up together there.
Yeah, I think this is such a good team to start with. You already have right now so a lot of like more than one Broncos beat writer talking about this backfield being up in the air and a battle, and one that Javonte needs to earn. And a name that's come up is Estime, the 5th round draft pick there. And right now he is by far like the best 18th round pick at this point, considering that murkiness, considering Jaleel McLaughlin's stature, and just Estime, as the running backs in this draft were all pretty similar outside of, Brooks, and I guess you can throw Benson in there, but Estime and Corum were not like that different in my estimation and research that I've read. I think also here, not to be forgotten, is Blake Watson as well.
Yeah.
UDFA, he was a top 5 capital spent at UDFA, got $250,000 to be on this Broncos roster. I kind of threw it out to John, and this isn't obviously like a guarantee, but I really think that we could see some serious movement in this backfield, i.e. Javonte getting traded and or cut. There just has not been like any positivity from Sean Payton toward Javonte Williams at all. And we see all these running. We saw Jaleel get run. They bring in Watson and Estime. This is definitely one to pay attention to. And I think if people are looking at us for advice, you have my green light to overreact to Broncos camp news, because there's so much ambiguity here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how things play out. It could not matter. The team could just be so bad that it doesn't matter, but they're all literally free for the most part, so it's definitely worth paying attention to.
In the other part of this concoction, right, that lends to this is we have what I would consider a pretty erratic coach with player usage. I mean, we already saw like the way he talked, like the whole Marvin Mims thing from last year where he went and traded up for this guy. It was supposed to be Sean Payton's guy, and then basically shrugged his shoulders all season and was like, I can't really find a place for him. It's like, got to get little Jordan Humphrey out there. Now he plays Jerry Jeudy's role. Like, just making up shit. Like that lends itself to like any of these guys can break out. And I think like the Blake Watson thing's a great shout out. And like, we got to go as far down to Samaje Perine. If he sticks on the team, we know that's a guy that can do all of it too. So yeah, I'm with you, Nez. I want to keep my eyes wide open. And I want to see where Peyton is leaning here. And in the worst case scenario, it's like we get a lot of like Josh Reynolds in like a 4-way committee, like that's in play. But the scenarios where it breaks a little cleaner, you're just going to have a massive league winner here.
And Bo Nix, I think, offers a lot of wide range of outcomes as well. Just from obviously because he came from the same school as Herbert and can run a little bit. I think they're and we're not in isolation here and thinking that, but Bo Nix could potentially give us a lot of upside at quarterback.
Yeah, the one that you guys kind of like just briefly touched on, but we didn't mention at all, that's like by far the most boring of the bunch, but they paid him, they gave him good money. He's a professional ass wide receiver, is just like Josh Reynolds in certain builds as a tack on 18th rounder with like ETR's projected ownership right now only at 11%. Like making that bet, I made the analogy of like, would you rather, like we're playing a DFS slate, would you rather have Tyler Boyd at 65% ownership, or would you rather have Josh Reynolds at 11, and you would take Josh Reynolds at 11 every single time because it's the exact same effing bet, basically. So it's like, why not just take the ownership discount if the prices hold this way? So that was one that I have mixed in maybe like 2-3 times. I don't want to get over my skis, but like it's just thought process that I was putting into this, like not necessarily looking for the shoot the moon puka from this group with the Troy Franklin of the world, but just going, hey, can I get like 705 from someone? Okay, that'll serve in a punt wide receiver build late or whatever.
Yeah, the comparison to the ownership is a really good point. Go ahead, Pete.
Oh no, do you guys I kind of steered us to the Denver one. Do you guys have like another team or specific player that you guys are IDing here?
I got a couple. Oh, sorry,
John.
Go ahead. Okay. I had 2 Seahawks in JSN and Sharps, just with coaching staff change and glowing reports about JSN thus far. Just Lockett Agecliff potentially. That was one that sticks out for me. And then the other one was Jonathan Brooks. I think if people get eyes on him in preseason and you're just comparing to that whole surrounding group of running backs that's like quote unquote ambiguous from 19 through 28, 29, 30-ish range. If you see Jonathan Brooks break off a couple runs in preseason, I think, the normies in quotations crowd is just going to be like, holy fuck, is this discount Bijan Robinson? And those comparisons are just going to start being made, and he's going to be CLV for days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think Brooks doesn't end up on PUP just in general, and he breaks camp just with the team day one. It's going to boost him up like 10 picks just immediately.
Yeah. And I think a guy like Brooks is just more like capped by the macro positional stuff, right? Like Brooks's ceiling is probably ending up where like Joe Mixon and, it goes, right? Like you're just not going higher than that while everyone trips over themselves to like load up on wide receivers. Even if he becomes like the preferred option in that range. But yeah, I could totally see it. I do think we are now starting to see the push pull of drafters being more slightly conservative about rookies. And it's funny, like what you can learn from the micro ADP movements. I feel like Malik Neighbors is just dropping like one to two slots more lately than he was like when it was truly just sickos drafting. It was like people were taking him in the middle of the second round. Now you can get him at 3.3, 3.4. I think you're going to see that a little bit with Brooks. Then you layer on top of it the stuff with his injury. But I do agree, it could break the other way. He's at training camp. He's looking great. He avoids PUP. And then he is going to shoot up, around. I just don't think he can be like a mega riser. Like I can't picture him even in the 5th round.
Similar to that wide receiver clump that I was talking about, there's that strong resistance at running back too, that it's just so tough for him to break through that echelon because it's just such projectable volume. And a lot of those guys that he has to like leapfrog are on good teams and just have such good projectable volume and aren't coming off an ACL and aren't a rookie, that it is going to be hard for him to leapfrog that. But I think Alvin Kamara is probably like the best running back that he can leapfrog.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely feel like a lot could be there. Yeah, I mean, the guys that can steam up too, like if we think about it through the lens of macro stuff, I think we could definitely see some run for wide receivers, right? Like there's that range of drafts where we were just talking about, like after Jameson Williams, like all the way to like where those rookies like the Leggett and the Polks go off the board. Like there's like a vacuum there that's almost begging for a steam riser to just come roaring up to pick like 110. Right. Do you guys have any candidates you could see there?
I'd have to look back at that range to really have one in mind. Go ahead, John.
No, I got one that nobody likes and nobody finds sexy, and then it just popped up on the screen. Which a name I wrote down earlier was Brandon Cooks. I mean, they just don't have a clearly solidified number 2 pass catcher there, and they were the team that threw the most in all football last year, and nobody's talking about the contingent upside of Brandon Cooks either if anything happens to the number 1 pass catcher in football right now. So it's not sexy, but
I think people are going to end up face palming really hard when they think about Brandon Cooks being cheaper than Shakir cheaper than Dubs in a 4 wide receiver rotation. When we have Dak Prescott's wide receiver 2 with like very little target competition behind him on a team that's projected to score a shit ton of points, I really do. I agree with you, John, especially as like team, fade the age curve in a positive way.
Sometimes when it fits our narrative.
Yeah. Brandon Cooks is one that I'm not scared of him being old.
Do you know what's so funny with you guys saying Cooks? Because one of mine, like, I completely agree about the market wanting there to be a clear number 2 here. And mine was going to be Jalen Tolbert for like very similar reasons of like people not being sold on Cooks. Doesn't Tolbert just feel like he could be the guy where it's like he's having an awesome camp and all of this stuff? He's been Dak's number 1 target. And then all of a sudden the Dak drafters who are already desperate to have someone else to like double stack with him, like I could see Tolbert easily rising like 4 to 5 rounds, like into like round 13 or 14, almost being like a Rashad Bateman-esque kind of like steam candidate where people talk themselves into him being like, well, what if he is the number 2 over Brandon Cooks? Like, so yeah, I think this Dallas team certainly has lots of steam candidates.
Yeah, I see the Tolbert point as like Terrace Marshall redux. Like, guy that, post hype, this is it. Like maybe we should take him here. And then I don't know. I just don't think he's good, but the steam could definitely come.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we could probably talk about the running backs too, right? I mean, this is the cheapest priced backfield in all of football and is also one of the most like prolific offenses too. So you're telling me like if the drumbeat is Ezekiel Elliott has the fountain of youth, they are back to loving him. It's like it's, 2016 all over again in Dallas. Like he's going to move up. You tell me like, holy cow, Rico Dowdle's turning heads. He's taken his efficiency and now they're giving him more volume. Zeke looks sluggish. Rico could pop 3 to 4 rounds for sure. I think either of these guys could run.
Yeah, I take both of Rico and then I see agree. John clearly does too. I take those guys a lot. So there's definitely room to run there. I was thinking as far as my candidates here, I was kind of going dumpster diving a little bit here and looking at the Browns and thinking about the wide receiver 3 from the Browns not as still being up in the air. Tillman is kind of leading the charge right now as far as the best ball touts go. As you can see, the ADPs are side by side. They did draft Jamari Thrash as well. I think I'm still team Elijah Moore, but maybe I'm just like being a dunce about it and too like anchored. But the fact that he's free, it's not like we have to. It's not like he's pick 180, and then there's this Cedric Tillman buzz. He still goes undrafted in every draft. Anytime I have a Deshaun Watson team, I have to consider Moore or Tillman with my very last pick. Don't really hate that either one. I've been mixing up both, but I think I am team Elijah Moore. But this is one I think is going to be really important to keep your ear to the streets. And anything that we hear as far as like, hey, Elijah Moore, he's looking like that wide receiver prospect that the Jets drafted, and he's going to have a big season dominating camp versus Tillman, who, I mean, as far as their pro resumes go, what does Tillman's box scores look like compared to Elijah Moore's? His name was brought up, but Elijah Moore has a much better pro resume. So for him being absolutely free, I just want to really pay attention to that in the receiving room for Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, especially if we're buying the Deshaun throwing hype, right? Like there was a Roto-World blurb or whatever yesterday about, his shoulder feeling better and going to be ready for camp kind of deal there. So if we're buying the pass rate over expectation and we're buying the fact that they're going to throw when he's healthy and whatnot, tacking on that third wide receiver seems smart.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what their pace is, because are they just going to revert back to how, like, are they going to play slow or are they going to play how they played when Flacco was there? It seems like it's a philosophical difference, and I think they're just going to make Watson probably adjust to it, would be my guess.
Well, Thorne did the pace stuff with ETR last week, and they actually played at about the same speed with Deshaun, which is like counterintuitive to what I thought. Yeah.
Interesting.
My only counter to maybe these guys not being big steam candidates is like 2 factors. One, you have what the market pretty clearly feels like is a clear 1-2, and Amari and Judy also likes Njoku. And then people hate drafting Deshaun Watson. So it's not like someone who's going to get pulled up because of like really wanting a stacking option other than John and
I'm right here,
Soccer
Pete.
Dave.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Dave Kitchen's SEO improves like over the season, then maybe we'll get a little bit of steam here.
Yeah. How about though on this same team? Why we're here? I mean, Nick Chubb. If they say like Nick Chubb is gonna be ready week 1,
yeah,
I mean,
it's
this
over.
guy could jump 100 picks.
It's
Literally jump 100 picks.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a good one. I mean, and that was the thesis with the TJ Hawkinson and the Nick Chubb thing that we talked about 2 months ago, where it's like there is no one who with room to rise more than these two guys that we know are proven entities, proven stars in this league. And if as long as the health breaks the right way, they're instantly going to vault, right?
Yeah, you can look at the Deontay Foreman signing and only the Deontay Foreman signing and Nyheim Hines, but Nyheim Hines is not like a running back that's going to challenge for touches, right? You can look at that signing as, wow, they love Jerome Ford, or wow, they expect Nick Chubb to be back pretty soon and be effective. It's looking a lot more like the latter.
Yeah, well said. I got a couple more here that I was just thinking through in general. I think rookie quarterbacks, when you see them with your own eyes in the preseason, are going to be extremely volatile one way or the other. Like the pendulum can swing either way just based on the performance in which you see. Like you remember CJ Stroud came out and had like a couple egregious picks and bad sacks in his
I'll
first
never
thing.
forget that preseason game. Yeah, they
and
were
his
like, oh
ADP
man, this is
plummeted. You know, he wasn't worth the, you know, his weight, blah, blah, blah. So there's going to be a lot of that overreaction to like, you know, even especially more so now that we have less preseason games to deal with and, you know, stars playing even less in the preseason. I think there's going to be a lot of overreaction to the rookie quarterbacks performing either above or below their median outcome.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Yep.
Should we hop in something here?
Yeah. My last call out would be, you know, again, I'm looking at, you know, undrafted players, bottom of the board is the Eagles wide receiver 3. I think they are, I mean, Quez Watkins is not there anymore. Mm-hmm. I know I've joked about Paris Campbell, but like, and maybe he's not draftable. If it is Paris Campbell, he's definitely not draftable, but John, we kind of talked about Johnny Wilson in the pre-draft stuff and the physical traits of Johnny Wilson. And honestly, his like rate stats as a receiver were not bad either in college. If Johnny Wilson has a good camp and he's like, yo, wide receiver 3 locked in for the Eagles, it's going to take some obviously some serious pumpage from the beats. But if we do get Johnny Wilson wide receiver 3 sets, he's gonna end up being drafted quite a bit.
Yeah, think about the contingent upside too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also you think about drafting dynamics, right? We've all been there. You know, we've gotten this dynamic where Hurts will fall sometimes in these drafts. And the reason he's falling is because the other drafters who don't have Devontae or AJ are like, all right, I guess I can get Goddard. And then what? Like, and then if I get sniped on Goddard, do I have a naked Jalen Hurts? Like, I'll just let him fall. Whereas if you put into the mix like a really fun wide receiver 3, then you start saying backdoor stack with Goddard and Johnny Wilson or whatever. There's a lot of room for him to run there, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, guys.
The other one I'll say with that same thing, and because I've seen people drafting like multiple different late Chargers wide receivers. That's another one there too, like a Brendan Rice type. Like if Brendan Rice has this insane camp, I would not be surprised if like a him or there's the Cornelius Johnson I've heard people mention too. Like one of these guys could make a run.
Yeah, no, I think those are good ones to hit on.
Got to grind the camp news for sure with those teams.
Yeah, a couple in that same vein there that people are scared, like they're apprehensive to take the quarterback because they don't have an obvious back stack. I would say Mahomes as well. If you don't just do that immediate stack, all of his pass catchers go in that same area. I mean, if we get anything that's thirsty about Sky Moore, Tony, Watson, Hardman, like they have so many guys on that roster. People are going to be itching, especially in the recreational crowd, to take naked Mahomes and then just have a fallback option that feels cozy to take in the 18th round, right? Like I'll do it. I'll admittedly I'll take naked Mahomes and then just do like a single stack that's like leverage off of all those other Mahomes stacks. If we just hear like, yep, Justin Watson penciled in WR3 no matter what, he's going to be out there 80% of snaps. Like, yeah, he's probably not going to outproduce these guys, but if we're playing for week 17 alone, I'll take that chance, right?
Yeah. Same with like a running back too, right? I mean, obviously, like if we had something where like a Khalil Herbert or a Samaje Perine got cut and they signed him, like you're going to see that guy jump up. Like what? Like wouldn't a Khalil Herbert like easily jump up into like past the Rico Dowdle range or something if you had a clear kind of fun RB2 on Kansas City?
Oh man. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
I'm drafting a ton of Herbert right now, but I'm not like loving it just because it's sort of just waiting on a domino to fall when I'm taking him. I mean, I can tell myself it's fine if he stays on the Bears because it's only Swift in front of him. But I like. I mean, at that range, there's not a lot of concrete picks, anyways. But
there is one guy on Kansas City who's not in our player pool that I've seen go in other stuff a couple times. He's got a hyphenated last name as well.
Luis
Reeves. Yeah.
He's a rugby player.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a rugby spin it to win it boy, huh?
You got to get your shares on Redacted. It's so funny you say that because just today the Chiefs had a highlight from Mahomes to him.
Fuck yeah. I love me a good Ruggers guy making the transition there.
Before we can go ahead and jump in, I was going to say on Mahomes, man, I'm really just trying to get more Mahomes exposure. And if I get him naked, it sucks, but I think I want to start to take him and try to dare the draft room to take one of his pass catchers when I get him back. It's really interesting that he ran so much last year, more than he ever did in years past. Probably because he had to, because the team was really bad. But if he has better weapons and the defense is more spread out, will he just continue to run? I mean, he ran 75 times last year, rushing attempts, no touchdowns to show for it, shockingly, but has 2 in all the last in all his other seasons that he's played, and 4 in 2022. Maybe, some sneaky rushing potential for Mahomes as he continues to, dare defenses to hit him as he tiptoes the sidelines.
That's not crazy, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know he had that many rushing attempts last year. That's a good little nugget.
380 yards.
He drafted Tony today. We're truly sick, guys. We are truly sick.
That is sick.
MVS. Nobody's touching, a Bills backdoor, whatever there. Michael Thomas signing, or Hunter Renfrow, I've heard mentions of signing. Like if you just want the sketchier version of Josh Reynolds late.
Michael Thomas feels like a Steeler. They're gonna whip on Aiyuk and he's gonna play the Allen Robinson role of just, hey, this guy, this guy's name.
Perfect for the Allen Robinson role. Like
his name, but he's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I had a couple like just macro ones. Oh, let's make this pick here. Tyreek, Jefferson, Chase. Who do you guys like?
I'm boring, but I'm Tyreek.
I always like getting my Tyreek shares when I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I built a Tyreek team this morning that I think I crashed the plane on. It started so nice. I shared it with Nez when it started. It was a Lamar Andrews in the 4-5 there with who else was on that one, Nez? Oh, and I got a big Ken Walker fall. So it was a 1-1-3-1 start, and it looked so beautiful. And then I just waited too long and got too greedy and didn't do so well.
It's nice to admit when we don't, perfectly land the plane. My admitting one is today before like the Soulcast, I went for a run and I did my cardio club draft, and I just like wasn't paying attention and took a third tight end on a McBride Bowers team where I had already spent way too much. And I was like, oh, Luke Musgrave was like nice value here. And I'm just like running and just swipe. And I'm like, God fucking damn it.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Oh, man. Yeah. Can I admit that I love the notion of the cardio club? I love the linking. I love the habit stacking of it. That I'm not a cardio club guy, man. I can't do it. maybe I'm not smart enough. I don't know. I bought the phone stand for my bike. I tried to do it outside.
You're doing it on a bike,
tried to do
probably.
it I tried to do it on the stationary bike. I just like to zone the F out when I'm doing my cardio, and I don't know, like concentrating on something makes me like more agitated. I don't know. Just not me.
I can see that. Normally, the reason I had my mistake, so like sometimes if I'm like feeling lazy, like the way I do my cardio club is like I'll stop, make my pick, and then start back up again. Today, though, I only had a short amount of time and I was pretty far out from my house to it. I was like, I don't have the luxury to like stop. Like I need to keep going. So that's what I'm making. Now I'm like bouncing around, running, and also just trying to like swipe so I can get back to thinking about my breathing.
Hands are clammy and shit.
Yeah,
You're like-
exactly. It was actually a good
like
hack
it,
to keep moving. Yeah.
I want to ask you guys one last question about like the potential risers and stuff like that. I think the common meta is that we're going to get an influx of recreational players. Quarterbacks are going to go up, safe in quotations, running backs are going to go up, and the rookie wide receivers and stuff are going to go down. Kind of in the vein to Jacob's article today. What if that doesn't happen, guys? Like, what do you guys think about this landscape? Will you push it yourself? Maybe we'll save it for right after this pick. Evans, Aiyuk falling a little bit. Saquon. What do you guys like? Neighbors?
Little Aiyuk fall doesn't seem too bad. I don't know.
like Aiyuk.
Okay. Yeah, I'm totally cool with it.
I meant to ask you guys, I was thinking about this the other day. When you get fallers, mainly I think about it in the first few rounds, and you kind of know, like, maybe you're not getting like a mega tournament wide unique pairing, but maybe unique for kind of your own portfolio. Like, oh, I don't feel like I ever get Hill, Aiyuk. With the next couple of picks, are you more inclined to pair them with like your favorite players who generally go, say, round 3 or 4, or try to get like the next big ADP faller and like compound that uniqueness of like, I've never gotten these 3 together on a team?
For me, it's room dependent. So in a room like this, I would just try and take my guys that I have highest exposure to and hope that that combination is unique enough paired around the guys that I already like in my portfolio, because I know there's a bunch of badged up players and it's highly unlikely that I'm going to get like some crazy unique pairing. But if I'm in a room where it's like I'm one of like 1 or 2 badges and people are kind of, I'm noticing quarterbacks go early and people going crazy shit, then I'll just try and be like, okay, let's just GM the hell out of this thing from the jump. So it's opponent dependent.
Yeah, I go CLV. I try to just like stack up the closing line value, which puts us in a precarious situation because I don't really like Achane and Tyreek Hill if we're playing BBM on the same team.
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you guys like then?
I'm the same way with Nez. I like Cup or DJ Moore.
Me too. I like Cupper more as well.
All right. Well, you guys know who I'm going to pick out of those two.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting more and more DJ Moore.
What I've been leaning to is also grabbing the ADP faller. My thought being like, if you are kind of more of an ADP bro, like you do build so many teams that are going to have the same kind of like pockets or like pairings of players just lined up by ADP. And so when I get like, I had one, and now I'm going to botch the example, but it was like 3 wide receivers I know I had like never paired together because they were all like 4 picks past ADP. And like, I always just want to take advantage of that because it's like, if you're drafting off ADP, otherwise, like, yeah, you're going to get, you could do, how many people have done the CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, Malik Neighbors, you know, from like the one hole. So anytime you get those like mixed up in a value type way, it feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also relative to contest window too, because like we inevitably don't know how the ADP is going to sway as we get closer. So like combos that we thought were like, you know, oh man, I'm so bored. I'm just drafting the same thing over and over again from like the right-hand side of the board, from like the 110, for instance, where you put Devonta Smith and Cooper Kupp together over and over again in the 3rd and 4th round. Well, that's long gone now. So maybe if I could turn back the wheel of time and anticipated them being risers, I would have done it over and over and over again, because in reality, that over and over again is only like 10 BBM drafts, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because you want to attack that, but you also want to not concentrate your bullets in one period. At least for me, you know, I'm definitely I went from I'm going to save 100 drafts to August to, hey man, I just got to try to keep up pace with the fill rate at this point. Speaking of keeping up pace, Pete, have you been jamming in these fast puppies?
I actually had that's what I was doing when I was doing my cardio club. Like
Gotcha.
over the weekend when I went down to New York, I ripped a bunch on the train. I'll try to squeeze one in at night now, knowing I can get them done in 30 minutes as opposed to 45.
Yeah, it's a godsend. How many drafts do you think I've completed so far?
Of the fast puppies, I mean, jeez, I bet you're at 80.
Yeah, very good guess. 99.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to outpace the fill rate just in case, I don't have the ability to draft, and get the 150.
If you stream your 100th tonight, you can go head to head with the Live a Little stream. 100th draft being streamed behind the paywall.
I'm tired of going toe to toe with these content giants, man. Let me just do this in peace.
We're gonna have some interesting decisions here. We got Tyreek, Aiyuk, and Cup start here. One of the interesting decisions just went away. Yeah. We could try and do an Andrews Lamar thing. We could take a running back. We could take Kirk. What do you guys like?
I definitely have Jacob's piece in my head, which has been fun, food for thought. Would be pushing me toward ETN here.
ETN or Mahomes, and I think maybe trying to get a Mahomes pass catcher.
Let's do ETN because I basically never take ETN, and I don't know what about ETN we like. Let's hear the bull case.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the bull case is simple for ETN. He was the top 3 running back last year, and that was with his usage kind of tailing off in the second half. He has basically no competition. I mean, yes, you can buy that there's going to be a Tank Bigsby resurgence, but doesn't it seem like the most likely thing is they tried to do what they did last year, which is trot him out on the field. He's not good enough, and they go back to bell cow ETN. And then you also hope that the offense is just a little bit better. They have better horses this year with Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis, maybe more explosive plays, more red zone trips. I mean, ETN to me, it's has such a nice floor. And if he catches a few more passes, if the offense is a little bit more creative, he could easily finish as a top 5 running back, which he just did.
Yeah. It just the ordering of these running backs, I just don't think is totally. I mean, it is what it is, but I think ETN is in line for some of the most volume in the league, which I think is kind of enough said. It's a volume game, and he's good. He's actually good with the football in his hands.
I kind of would vote Kirk then, and we make a concentrated bet on the Jags at a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, I'm fine with Kirk falling all the way here. I mean, that's a pretty nice ADP value.
Yeah, let's just make this a CLV monster.
Okay.
And this is where Kirk opened up, and then he got steamed up by the ETR ranks, but then comes falling back down here for us.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, I like what both those teams did on the end there, where they did basically our ideas that we just shared as well, and then we were kind of the guys who just ate the ADP value because of it. Nice teams.
Yeah.
This is friends and family, though. Nick's in here, Jump Free's in here, the Cheese Ball's in here, Chad's in here, Crash Rich is in here. I know you're watching. Just come out and say hi already. I know he's lurking. B Smurf's in here, Matty G. Holy smokes.
Yeah, the BBM too. I mean, now that all the fast puppies are, sucking up all the liquidity there, pause. But that's kind of, now you can get these BBM rooms with, which isn't necessarily a great thing, but it makes for fun for the viewers at least. Speaking of the viewers here, if you guys haven't liked the video, can you give us a like? If you're here and you're new to us, haven't subbed yet, throw us a sub, turn on the notification bell so you can catch us on a live stream. And I think, guys, at the end of this, I'm going to give away another Memby. We got 100 plus people in here. Try to make it a thing for off and on the clock for people that don't have memberships. Throw one out to the viewers. So yeah, thanks.
Love it.
Yeah, Eli Mitchell saw me in a fast puppy and I was timing out. You have to forgive me, man. You don't get to 99 by doing one puppy at a time and making your picks, okay?
Push the damn plane, bro. Push the damn plane.
Nez, you got to embrace it. That's when you become a real influencer, when you got called out for your draft mistakes by people and you start getting tagged. I thought maybe there was a chance someone would put me on blast for my Musgrave third tight end here. And I was like, just in case, I'm going to get out in front of it and say it on stream here. Yeah,
that was smart. Have you played around with the new active tab on desktop at all?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big desktop drafter guy.
So yeah, you're obviously excited for BR season for that new active tab for multi-tabling.
I've been thinking about BR stuff more recently. I'm getting very excited.
Oh man, it's gonna be really fun. That's when things really take off.
Yeah, for those not aware of what Nez is referring to here, you can now see your roster in the active tab here and jump between both the queue and the roster. Previously, you could only see your queue, and you would have to go to the draft to see your correlation patterns. Now it's all baked in here, so we can just go ahead and go, oh, we got Jags. Maybe we want to add Evan Ingram, blah, blah, blah. So it's really cool. That was probably the 101 on my wish list. Maybe audio prompts, but that was probably the 101 on my wish list. That was even ahead of like toggle ADP and ranks before. We get a little bit of a Kittle fall. We could pair with Aiyuk.
That feels great,
man. I love that. And this is something, and this kind of dovetails too with Jacob's article. By the way, if you guys, Jacob Sanderson has an awesome Substack, Thinking About Thinking, and he had a really kind of thought-provoking post today about, again, kind of counter strategies to the wide receiver early heavy meta. And, a lot of it boiled down to being more open to taking your favorite running back profiles in rounds 4, 5, and 6. But another added benefit of it is exactly what happened here, where I like being in on elite tight end. I take a ton of Andrews, McBride, Kincaid at that 4-5 turn, but it often will box you out of getting the sick value of a Pitts or Kittle faller in here. And so sometimes you get to have your cake and eat it too, and diversify your portfolio, like getting ETN here. Then we get the Kirk, ADP fall, then the Kittle ADP fall, both of those correlated and ADP fallers. Like that's how you build monster teams. So I enjoy how this is breaking.
Yeah, likewise. This is good. Good little Jacob nugget from the weekend there. He's like, oh, what are you up to later? And I was like, dude, I'm going to go visit my parents, have a nice steak dinner, pick up my dog, like this sort of thing. He's like, yeah, I'm going to like a rave in the park or something like this. And he was waiting for a location drop on where the DJ was going to be. Like, I was like, man, you're so young.
Fucking Zoomer.
Yeah. Who do you guys like?
Kind of like Najee.
Like Najee? Pete?
Yeah, I'm fine with Najee.
You guys like Najee over Kamara and Addison and this grouping?
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely over Kamara. Addison's an interesting talking point, but I think you keep letting him fall. The only other kind of thing would have been going like Ingram and like really ripping it in on the Jags.
Yeah, that could have been fun too. Maybe in hindsight, getting that one back and doing something fun and different there. But no, I think Najee's in for a ton of volume with that offense and more projectable volume and touches than Aaron Jones, who goes ahead of him. But obviously Aaron Jones is pretty fun, but I think Najee's volume is much safer.
Have you guys, it's so cliche to be like, we talk about it in the daily streets. We talk about whatever to like win that like middle grouping. It's like whoever wins the third round is going to win whatever. And like people talk about the grouping of this, like what Tom called the glory hole running backs there from like RB19 or like maybe call it like 17, David Montgomery, all the way down to like RB30 there, kind of ending with Trey Benson and whatever. I mean, they all just, we do this thing every single draft where we piss yellow and then the green all goes like round 7 through 9 here. Of that like grouping, if you guys could just pick like your two favorite to like, yeah, these are my horses, who would they be? Would Najee be one of them?
I think I would consider him and Warren like a similar bet. I think one of those guys, and both are good, but I'm not taking them both at the same team. And then the other one would be Jonathan Brooks for sure.
Okay. Pete?
What's my range cutoff? My draft range cut?
Kind of like what's on the screen exactly right now, but then you can include Kamara, Brooks, and Najee.
Yeah, I'll say of what I see on the screen, I'm taking Brooks. That's the slam dunk, and this one's going to be weird to say as the Chase Brown guy, but to me, it's not mutually exclusive. It is Zach Moss is my other favorite click in here.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Zach Moss train.
No, I know you invented it, man. I give you credit. I mean, I remember when it was post free agency, might have been in the big board and you were getting, I was like, man, this feels gross taking Zach Moss in the 13th round or whatever. I've seen the light. And I'm just not going to make the same mistake and be like overconfident. It's the one guy. I mean, both of these guys can smash. And like Zach Moss is going to get first crack at it. Like we know that. He might falter. He might be washed, but like he's going to get a crack at it. And what have we already seen? We've seen the Bengals be very stubborn with Joe Mixon for many years and continue to let him have cracks at it. Zach Moss probably going to have a long leash here as he comes off the board.
No, I agree with you guys there. Yeah, because like every single draft that we get in, and maybe it's a byproduct of streaming a large majority of the drafts or like doing, slightly higher price point than the $5 ones or whatever, that I swear every draft starts to like break like this, right? Like we all see this where there's only 3 wide receivers in this grouping. Swift comes back to us, Jameson Williams, Curtis Samuel, Mostert, Bowers, Pollard. Who do you guys like?
I'm generally a fan of doing these running back wide receiver pairings, so I'd be Mostert.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Mostert's a good price. I don't take a lot of him.
Okay.
And if he,
what do you guys...
the only reason I don't is just because of the health. So it's just like not a great bet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, would it surprise anyone that like the Jalen Wright drafting didn't matter at all, and then they just go, hey, look what worked so well for us last year. Mostert scoring 18 touchdowns and HN being like this fun, gimmicky, change of pace, motion, whatever guy. Like,
yeah, I want to save my Jalen Wright thoughts for next week, but no, you're right. You're right.
Okay, interesting. What do you guys think about Swift? I have the ETR rankings in here right now. We drafted with Easies yesterday. Swift is way up there in the ETR ones. They like him over that grouping. I guess it's just a bet on the offense. I guess we should make this pick.
Is this Trevor Lawrence?
Feels like we should take a while. What about Lockett here?
Oh shoot. Okay. Yeah, I take a lot of Lockett. Well, we had the ranks in and not ADP, so I was like, bumping.
I'm good with Lockett or Pollard.
Yeah, let's do a wide receiver. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Lockett's a nice wide receiver 5. You know.
Do you guys like Lockett more than Palmer? Like just in a vacuum?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think I like the upside of that passing offense more, and I like Lockett's talent more.
All right, Coach Nez approves.
Thanks for hopping.
Dude, this is actually so good with his picture too, with like the point. It's like Lockett undervalued. Like,
this dude's electric. I mean, he's just the most photogenic guy of all time.
So let's talk about the DeAndre Swift stuff because he has been a weird one. Like when I draft with Sean's in on Swift. I know, like you said, the ETR stuff. Like he's one of those guys that's going to project well. If you want to be excited about the offense, it does seem like there's so many ways it can go wrong. And I've kind of started to cool on clicking him a little bit. And my kind of new take is like he feels like slightly fancy Javonte Williams, who I know doesn't go that much further after him, where it's like, yes, you can squint and see the RB1 upside, but like I want to start to get like cheaper and cheaper with that. And I feel like to me, he also seems like a fast start player, like he's going to have the first crack at the job, but like you're often faced with DeAndre Swift or Raheem Mostert. Swift goes right ahead of Mostert. Like, isn't Mostert a way better fast start pick than DeAndre Swift too, with probably even less, risk for getting just leapfrogged by talent? So I don't know. I'm starting to get worried about Swift.
I'm so torn on it, just like in general, because like everything we loved about Swift for years and he did like super well, and why we wish casted him with the Eagles based on like the Lions role and stuff like that, I don't think he really needs to do with the Bears. And we saw him last year. Like you can talk about the tush push all you want, but like that team was one of the most, like the heaviest rushing inside of like the 10-yard line in football. It was like the Eagles, Detroit was up there. It's why we kept playing like these touchdown scoring running backs, and he was flat ass bad. Like he was awful and inefficient in those sets at scoring touchdowns. It like, I think it goes understated that like, everyone thinks it was because of the tush push. Like he was behind one of the best offensive lines in football, and all they loved to do inside the 10 was run, and he still couldn't score. Right. So, I don't know, that scares me, but
Last year feels like his ceiling.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, even in Chicago, how often is Caleb Williams checking down? All you see of Caleb Williams in college is running around with it, like with his head cut off, making plays and throwing downfield. And he's got DJ Moore, who gets open all the goddamn time. Keenan Allen open all the goddamn time. How often is DeAndre Swift getting checked down to? Which, when you look at these guys that catch a lot of passes as running backs, unless you're an otherworldly talent, which Swift is obviously not, like checkdowns are what he needs, and I just don't see that happening. Purdy is a slam dunk here.
Yeah, the question is there any value to pushing it around the corner and hoping Biff doesn't pair him with CMC? Probably not, right?
I don't do that.
If there was another huge faller, that was pretty sick. But I mean,
he's top of the queue.
Anything we have to have. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good to me.
We
boys.
get the double stack past ADP. It's pretty nice there.
Yeah. Why push it?
Yeah. Chad took Lawrence, but at least you don't have to apologize, Chad. You stacked it up.
And it breaks a little. I mean, because you think about it, like Brock is, we have two pass catchers, at least with the Jags. It's a running back, wide receiver. Same with Dolphins. It's a running back, wide receiver. We're, playing that offense to basically split those points through the ground too. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It's like a nice, like regular season bet with those two stacks without the quarterback, and just assuming that there's just a lot of touchdown scoring, and Purdy makes more sense for the actual playoff weeks there. But we are looking at another stack option, and I don't hate it.
Whom is that?
Tua.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like AD Mitchell. Like, again, how are we gonna beat like the high wide receiver firepower? I feel like the AD Mitchell and Lockett combo is a nice way to do that. I'd also be open to Corum. I think we can push quarterback here. We have Stafford late. We have Geno late.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's push it. I'm always a proponent of pushing quarterback. For whatever reason, in this range recently, I found myself taking Judy and then funneling back to Deshaun or whatever, which is just
no way.
Shocking development. But like, what's weird about it is I was looking at my exposures last night, and I think I might be getting caught with my pants down a little bit on being bullish on Deshaun, but not having a shit ton of Amari. And that might be just like a big mistake, because I find this like comfy little, Judy and Watson back stack, where it's just kind of like, well, maybe you're just paying for a little bit more expensive Drake May back stack now, buddy. Like,
unless Watson is like rushing like more than he ever has, he needs Amari Cooper to reach that ceiling. And Amari Cooper's ceiling has been, proven over the years of like 130 targets basically, but just like 1,000 yards every season except for two. Has more big playability than I think people realize. I would definitely, even if you don't stack it, just getting Amari Cooper, because that's going to help your overall portfolio. Just because you already have that bet on Deshaun, even if you don't get the stack, which you obviously should, it still helps. Like, those two things still help those individual teams.
Yeah, I was thinking in that exact same vein this morning, Nez, and I did a BBM, and I took him on the right-hand side of the board in round 4 there, slightly ahead of some other guys. I took him ahead of George Pickens to like just start thinking through some of that, exactly what you just alluded to. I think it's a good point there. And people forget that Amari Cooper is actually only going into his 22nd year-old season this year. So
21st.
Yeah, I think he just turned
21-year-old Amari Cooper. Yeah,
21-year-old Amari Cooper again. Man.
That's right.
This would have been a good thing to look at before our Tua discussion. But where's the Waddle drafter? And what do they have at quarterback?
Waddle is at 16, and he has Jaden Daniels.
And we're about to find out.
And
the moment of truth. All right.
Oh,
that's how it can break nicely there.
Good call. Beautiful. Good call. I was being a little scared. We'll see. We're not out of the woods yet. I know this is literally all viewers here, so somebody could. You know what? I got newsflash for the viewers here, guys. I'm so calm and cool now, and I meditated before the show. If you snipe 2, I'm not going to tilt. So you want to tilt, you're not going to get it. So it's not worth sniping. You're not going to get any good content out of it.
This is like, It's the badge, the red badge, like shaking, and it's like, it's an incredible value, but it's unstacked Tua. What do I do?
I know what I have to do, but I don't have the strength to do it.
Keanu, Jalen Wright, and Malik Washington wheels up.
Hey man, leave the light on for Malik Washington. Let me tell you.
He's like my
seventh,
he's like my seventh favorite Washington in the pool.
Nice. Let's go.
There we go.
This team is just like overflowing with CLV. How are we gonna?
I feel like it's just drafting itself. You know, I feel like we're completely useless. We are merely a vehicle for the best ball gods.
I was gonna say apropos of nothing. I've been testing in the in the puppy drafts that I've been doing, like forcing not necessarily forcing, but finding a way to get like a Giga Chief stack and like reaching for Kelsey just by like 6 picks, reaching for Mahomes by 6 picks, and then pairing it with Rice and Worthy. And I gotta say, I don't hate the builds at all. Like,
yeah.
They actually kind of make sense, and I think it's not sacrificing like as much as people might think to do that. That I think I might end up taking a crack at it in BBM.
I'm not opposed for Jalen Wright here. Chubb is gone.
We already got Mostert.
I know.
I'd be opposed. Oh, you'd be fine stacking both.
Oh yeah.
I'm cool with it too, to be honest. Or
Jalen Wright?
Douglas.
Yeah.
Lock it up, man.
What's your? I mean, did you see what happened with the Dolphins running back room last year?
I was aware.
I know. I want to have a really good conversation about handcuffs next week, and ranking RB2s. But I mean, Mostert and Achane. I mean, I know we only have one season of Achane, but not pinnacles of health, right? And I just think that the Dolphins draft and construct teams very smartly and play to the strengths of the team, which is, hey, we have the fastest dudes on the planet on our team. We have one of the smartest coaches in the room on our team. I just think that they build rosters really soundly. And Wright is like yeah, if this was a week 1 through 4 contest, maybe Wright's not the pick. But there's totally a chance that Wright gets a crack at being the RB2, maybe even the RB1 at some point in the season, and just takes off. Like it's a running back for the Dolphins, and he's fast.
I mean, to your point, do you remember how deep we went on that one slate where I played Chris Brooks last year? I mean,
the name rings a bell.
To your point, I was drinking the Kool-Aid too, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have like I do think Wright could have a little bit of standalone value, but yes, he probably needs an injury. But on this team, we're building out a big Dolphins bet. We also specifically passed on Achane because we didn't want to build it with Tyreek. And now you're saying if something happens to Achane, if he gets hurt, I mean, Jalen Wright is going to destroy this ADP, as is Mostert. And all of a sudden, we've built a juggernaut version of a Dolphins team that basically has every piece you'd want other than Waddle.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, one of the few times that I think once you get into this range where it's like pick 140 plus, and they're not like right on top of each other as far as ADP goes, this is, I think, one of the. There's not a ton of instances this season where I think handcuffing can make sense. I think this is one of them.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. I'm curious. John scrolls too far sometimes.
No way.
I'm curious what Zach's referring to here. That it's going to be funny when people drafted the wrong rookie WR. Because I was thinking on Miami, because like Tajay Washington, or was that? Oh, I guess he's talking about on Miami. In my mind, I was like, there's also Casey Washington too in Atlanta there, but I guess he's referring to Tajay Washington, who's on the pup list, I think.
I'll have to do some research, I guess.
Yeah, this is deep dive meta. I'm always keeping my ear to the ground when smart people are jamming in the chat here.
7th round pick.
USC kid.
Yep. Yeah. 5'10", 170. Okay.
I remember him being a USC kid.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. These ranks have all the quarterbacks pushed up here. We are done at quarterback, I imagine, with Purdy and Tua.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like some options would be like Fant as our tight end 2, stack up the Seahawks without Geno. Did Gibson just go? I was going to float him. Seems like the pocket here is what do you think of Fant for this team?
Yeah, I'm cool with Fant or Hunter Henry.
Yeah, let's do it. I like Fant more than Henry.
I think in a vacuum I like Henry, but if it's like we've already stacked up Lockett, just getting that next stack there.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need to set up a third quarterback either. We're cool with this pairing. So
another one that I was thinking through earlier was Baltimore wide receiver 2 could catch a lot of steam here with like Bateman's pick here. Like closing line value on that could be pretty nice, whether it ends up being like Walker, Aguilar, Taylor Wallace. No one talks about him. Like with Devin Duvernay gone, like I don't know. Like I think there's just leave the light on for one of those guys getting a little steam here. All right, gentlemen, who do you like?
Can we look at running back?
Boy Bucky there, Elijah.
I always love Bucky. Also, if there's any of these wide receivers that you particularly or speak to you.
I like Michael Wilson because he kind of correlates with Cooper Kupp, and I think he's got a pretty high ceiling. And we have these running backs. None of them like stick out to me as must-haves. Our next turn, I think maybe we can start to kind of throw ADP out the window, but I think Wilson was the best pick on the board there for us.
Okay, yeah. I like it, dude. Another one I had as potential riser was Gus Bus. When people, a little bit of name recognition and they see like, maybe Vidal doesn't look like he's supposed to in camp and or preseason, and they hear coach speak about the guys wanting to establish it, and Greg Roman just talking about, oh yeah, this is the guy who worked for years for the Ravens or whatever. He becomes like a guy who vaults up into that next little tier, kind of adjacent to like Brian Robinson or something like that, as like RB31 opposed to RB35. I don't think he can scream up draft boards, but as a potential camp riser.
Yeah, Chargers, we have a lot to learn about these Chargers through camp, but it does seem like Gus is getting first crack, obviously. But I take J.K. Dobbins like at the field. It's maybe a little bit above average on the field, just based on the way that they've talked about him. They plan on him being used. It's just a matter of health, which is clearly a fringe bet. Wish him all the best, but just cannot stay healthy.
I've been with you, Warman, to Dobbins. Like the thought, like I want to bet against Gus, and I'm a little spooked that this Kamani Vidal stuff is starting to shake out to be some wish casting. And it's like, how do you bet against Gus without, getting out over your skis with Vidal? I mean, it is Dobbins, and the team has already said, like, if he's healthy, like he's the number 2.
Yeah.
Man, we were so close to me taking one more ride on Isaiah Spiller, but they had to draft Vidal, and now I can't. Now I can't do that 18th round Spiller. It just unfortunately is too bad.
As people forget, the very, very, very first draft we did, we searched up, where's that J.K. Dobbins? Yeah, maybe we should take him, and we just took him with no ADP in the 16th round, baby, and we got closing line value.
And they laughed and laughed and laughed.
They laughed.
Last laugh, baby. Always got to get the last laugh on J.K. Dobbins. Let me tell you. Oh, did someone take it? Okay, that the estimate stuff has officially gone too far.
Wow. Yep. Round 15.
The estimate stuff is wild. Like, because I took him in like the last round of I've been taking him in the last round of a ton of the puppy drafts, but then he'll randomly go in like round 14. On
our shows, he will, because I always talk. He did yesterday too. Someone took him early, like before we could get him in the 17th, 18th. So we got options though.
The people are thirsty for a comfy running back click in these late rounds.
Yeah, I don't know that I would call estimate comfy, but they are thirsty.
Comfy because they can pat themselves on the back and say that's sharp because of what we just learned today. You know what I mean? Like comfy and that.
Sexy.
Yeah, sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Something that's going to look good on twitter.com.
Right, yeah. Jahar Jordan, baby. Nobody else dares to click it.
I think this is Herbert.
Well, I was going to say Herbert if we did pass on So I don't see anything super compelling here for wide receivers. Herbert seems fine here.
All right. I agree with you guys. I mean, we talked about Herbert like a couple shows ago where it's just like there's multiple paths. Like he could just be the most talented running back in that backfield. He could be the goal line guy, or he could get moved, or there's just paths for him to find his way because we think he's decent at football comparative to like you got to really show your really got to spin zone some of these other guys.
Yeah.
So we got a 2-5-7-2 build. You know me, I never have a team where I don't like Devontae Walker. He's one of my like last favorite wide receivers on the board.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I am totally fine with that.
Get another rookie wide receiver on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about the Ravens wide receiver room, it's not hard to envision a world where Devontae Walker beats out Bateman and Aguilar for wide receiver 2 targets, especially by end of season.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say he could be a camp riser because it's just bag defending, but like, similar to those other ones we talked about with like the Chargers, the Eagles, like we already saw what the market was willing to do with Rashad Bateman, and he's given us multiple years to tell us he's not him. Like if Devontae Walker like torched camp, like couldn't he move 4 rounds?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You get one deep ball to Devontae Walker. It could be Jover.
I mean, Jalen McMillan went in the 15th here. Like Walker,
holy shit.
Walker can easily get up to where Franklin is.
ADP isn't real, boys.
I like the Rondale Moore pick from Chad. Been mixing him in the 18th round. Just seems like a guy that, on the whole, probably not going to be contributing a ton to the season, but just at any point, I think can pop off with a 2 touchdown game. Just because he still has that explosive profile, right? Still kind of fits a guy that can give you a spike week, which at the end of this thing is kind of what we're shooting for.
Yeah, well said. Beast for the touching scroll the F down tribute here with the Troy Franklin, Estimate, Tolbert, and Aiden O'Connell on the same team, pairing it all together. Fucking right. Combinatorial ownership. Woo!
Let me read the team for our audio listeners here, since we've we got our Brock Purdy and Tua. We got Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Wright, and Khalil Herbert at running back. Tyreek Hill, Aiyuk, Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett, A.D. Mitchell, Michael Wilson, Devontae Walker, and our 2 tight ends there, George Kittle, Noah Fant. I really like this team.
Likewise.
Yeah, this team is awesome. Just like I love drafting this way. I try to mix it up every now and then. It's not all of my teams look like this, but 4 out of 5 of your first round picks being wide receivers, and then kind of deviating from there and making that bet on those wide receivers that you did pick. It ends up with the most warm and fuzzy feeling post draft for me. But I don't do it all the time.
Yeah, I don't do it all the time either. But this team feels really nice. The running back Miami pairings is one that I haven't done yet, so that feels good about it. And I agree with it. Everything.
Can we jump back real quick to the team just to kind of see some players that are on the board potentially for us?
2-5-8-2.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Running back, I think we're good, right? Because like we need like Najee wasn't cheap, and we kind of need him to contribute, especially playoffs and ETN. And then we have 3. Like I think we're good at running back. What do you guys think? Like we kind of. With that Miami bet, we basically
you can say we're good everywhere.
Yeah, it's a pure luxury pick.
I guess I just don't even like a lot of the running backs here, so that's why I'm like, let's just like not even consider it because I hate them all that are left.
I put one in the private chat there. I don't know if you guys like it.
Thanks.
I think this could be a scroll the F down. It can get you could get weird.
You guys like the one that I said in the private chat? You guys like someone else?
Not particularly. I mean, I would probably throw my hat in the ring for Elijah Moore for the week 6-17 correlation.
With the Miami stuff?
We didn't get a Cleveland guy.
Is there any Arizona guys left?
Zay. Yeah. Let's do Elijah Moore.
Okay.
Talked about him at the beginning of the show there. Let's tie the whole thematic approach together. Let's do it.
little week 17 bring back. It immediately makes his team more live to make the finals based on Leone's research, just because we did that.
BBM number 45. Look at me truck along,
Wow.
Nez. Be damned with your 1,000 drafts. I'm getting to 150 this year, bud.
What number was this for you?
45.
Oh yeah, man.
Wow.
Let's go.
Dude, you guys aren't impressed by 45? Ooh.
There's a cactus
am
with your
impressed.
name on it, man. They're getting ready.
What's the date today? July 17th.
7/17.
One day before National Best Ball Day. I had the dates wrong yesterday, Nez. National
Is
Best
that
Ball
still
Day
being
is
celebrated?
well, I don't know. It wasn't celebrated last year because Pat forgot to invite us on the 12-hour stream. He had 12 hours worth of guests, and he didn't invite the BadgeBros. 12 hours to fill, and we didn't make the cut. Incredible stuff. So it actually didn't even get celebrated last year, Pete. But
And now your new bulletin board material I saw is Reddit, right?
yeah, we got to keep pushing ourselves to the peak that we are directionally accurate in this best ball space. And as more and more people encroach on our territory, we gotta keep pushing. Davis trying to take away our Tuesdays and Thursdays here. We're going to start streaming at 6 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to monopolize all of the viewership, and then we are going to go to 6 p.m. We're going to overlap. His 4-hour windows be damned. We are BadgeBros are putting our elbows up in the paint now.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've definitely entered that, before everyone's kind of like, tiptoeing it around each other's streams, no overlap. But now everybody's doing 4.5-hour streams that it's just, it's all out turf wars.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
All right.
Finally, someone in my camp here, guys. Alex is alongside with me with the Jawhar Jordan love. He's been taking him in the 18th round. He's not afraid.
What can you give me? Let me do a quick recap of this final recap of this team. And then I want to hear the bull case on him. So we got our Brock double stack with Kittle and Aiyuk. We got our Miami bet with Mostert, Jalen Wright, and Tyreek. Our other running backs, Etienne, Najee, and Khalil Herbert. Our other wide receivers here, Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett, A.D. Mitchell, Michael Wilson, Devontae Walker, Elijah Moore, and then Noah Fant as well. So getting a couple other secondary stacks there, a Jags bet, a Seahawks bet. We got some bringbacks there. No Detroit bringback in week 17 for San Francisco. We'll survive that. But I think a nice blend of rookies, of correlation, of some early season production. I think this is a nice team.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
And it's also unique for our portfolios, just in terms of like the Miami onslaught stuff. I haven't really done a ton of with like double running back yet. And Travis Etienne, I don't take a ton of, or Najee, let alone on the left-hand side of the board, opposed to the right. So getting the ADP value on the ETN and then pairing it with a guy like Najee, who routinely goes on the right-hand side of the board, combinatorially, I like it as well.
All right, give me the Jawhar Jordan selling point. Has there been blurbs? What's going on?
No. I fully just made this all up in my head. He just outrushed Isaac Durando last year for the last couple of years at North Carolina State there. Or no, sorry, Louisville. At Louisville, he's small and whatever, but they have shown a propensity last year to go with a small back, especially in goal line stuff with Devin Singletary. We saw them pump Devin Singletary. They've been very run first. Sure, they bring in Mixon, blah, 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 but like they clearly don't love what they got out of Dame Pierce. They don't love what Dame Pierce looks like in a zone run scheme. They bring in this kid, and who knows?
All right.
I comped the Jawhar Jordan and Isaac Durando to being what Justice Hill and Chris Carson were at Oklahoma State.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell last year and then do like the Damian Pierce and Jawhar Jordan comp too.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to have those names filed away for when we do get training camp nuggets here that can put these guys fully on the board.
Yeah. Our next fast puppy is on Davis. Thank you so much. Yes, we are asserting, the BadgeBros are asserting themselves in this community here.
Thank you, Davis.
All right.
yeah, what else do you guys got going on here before we get out of here?
Just the usual programming. We got MLB back on Friday, which will be a godsend. Really excited for that. Not sure how big the slate's going to be. It could be larger since we have an extra data draft and we have this new active tab going. So that could be like a really, really big contest for us. Albatross finals are this weekend as well. That's $50K to first. Really, really stoked about that. I have one team in the finals, got a Scotty Scheffler share. Slightly rare. Not Bryson DeChambeau is 88% owned in the Albatross finals, by the way. Just insane. So that's going to be super, super fun. There's golf dailies as well. 50K prize pool, which is like really big for golf. So if you want to beef up your gladiator payment for next week, since there wasn't a lot of dailies to draft, get in there. That closes tonight at midnight. So could be a potential for some overlay. I'm drafting that. It's going to be a really fun tournament. That's my underdog spiel.
Beautiful.
Love it, man.
What about you, John?
Nope. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern here on the Friendly Confines of the BadgeBros channel. We'll probably do football tomorrow. And then maybe if the baseball slate is launched by then, we will touch on that a little bit early there. And then we'll do baseball on Friday, right, Ness?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I got a quick blitzkrieg of best ball related plugs. Immediately following the show, I'm going to post a new video on the Deposit Kingdom channel, my favorite picks in each round of underdog drafts. Spent a lot of time on this one. Excited. It's like a blend of, my exposures, but also kind of like revealing like where the sweet spots of the draft are for value. Always trying to kind of like triangulate content the best ball sickos will like, and also some of the normies who are now coming after me in the comments telling me correlation is an illusion. So that's the tightrope walk we're doing over there. Tomorrow on Lulz, I think Brian and I might actually draft. We haven't drafted together in a long time, so that could be fun. On ship chasing tomorrow, we're going to do a show on transitioning best ball brain to redraft brain. I've been writing an article up on this for Fantasy Life this week and kind of thinking through some of those key differences as we enter, whether it's your home league drafts, your high stakes drafts, kind of the mental shifts we need to make across those formats. Randomizer tomorrow night with Neil Orfield, famously attempting to be the oldest person to ever stream all 150 best ball drafts, Best Ball Mania. We have some fun prompts there. Friday, trying to make history again. The world's fastest slow draft special show, 3 p.m. Eastern. I've assembled a crew of the quickest twitch, most nimble fingers in the space, and we are going to try to break a 9-minute and 24-second draft record. You think your 10-second, puppies or chihuahuas are fast? Wait till you see what we do tomorrow. And then finally, Best Ball After Dark Friday night. I got Michael Chang on. He's done some awesome deep dive research into weekly winners. He's one of those gigabrain data scientist guys with all kinds of crazy credentials, and he's decided to spend his time digging into weekly winners. So that is going to be on Best Ball After Dark. So yeah, lots of plugs there, but good stuff coming up tomorrow and Friday.
No, that's great. Look forward to that, Pete. On the Michael one, I just want to add that Numi posted something in the Discord in his thread. It alluded to the fact that there was a mistaken missed amount of money payout in week 5. That's not true. I've posted Numi's comments underneath his original tweet there. Underdog actually overpaid out for week 5 last year in weekly winners because of a stat provider error on a Josh Allen touchdown, blah, 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 if people are interested in that. So when they're sifting through that thread, there's a lot of really good stuff, but I just wanted to make it abundantly clear that no money was missed on the underdog stuff, and payouts were all accounted for there. They were actually overpaid out.
All right, guys, appreciate you watching Often on the Clock. The three of us are here every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Hit the subscribe. Specifically, if you've been watching over on Twitter, come over, hit the subscribe on the YouTube. Help us out. We will see you guys next time on OOTC. Peace.